So, when you exist, whether you're a plant, an animal, or a fungus, you react to external stimuli and make your entire life decisions around, what you react to. As humans, we react to things on the internal as well, such as the way you're feeling, I guess, or ideas you might have. If you're an animal, such as like a dog, and you see a mouse trap for the first time, and you don't know what it is, you're gonna have to go over and interact with it, or observe something else interact with it before before you can really learn about it. So once your snout gets close enough and gets whacked by the trap, you're gonna know that you need to avoid those type of devices in the future. Otherwise, you're gonna get whacked again, and you'll have to relearn the lesson. If you're a person and you're given free blankets from the new settlers that have been absolutely destroying your shit, and you decide to sleep with those, only to learn that everyone who did sleep with them now has red, painful bumps that cause everybody to die, you're gonna learn not to accept gifts from the settlers again. Unless you die. Then you dying is going to be used to teach that lesson to the people around you. So, I say all of this because the issue I have is that if you were to take this transactional teaching, pain received and lesson learned, and apply it to a person, we would call that person a bad person. Meaning, if you walk down the sidewalk and your neighbor runs up and punches you in the face, you're gonna think that guy's a fucking dickhead because you didn't do anything wrong, right? Or if you decide that you want to stop eating because you want to lose weight in that kind of way, you'll learn really fast that not eating hurts really, really bad. Which could then make you learn that trusting your parent calling you unlikable and fat is probably not necessarily the truth. It just makes you feel like it's that way. The system is set up in such a way that everything is transactional in a negative way. To learn something, somebody has to suffer from it first. You don't know to not eat the blue-ringed octopus until somebody did and died. Or more interestingly, if you wanted to communicate with another species, we know that we can't talk to them, but we also know that they don't like to suffer either. And if you wanted to communicate something to them, they're gonna know what you mean when you make them suffer. They might eventually understand kindness, but the quickest and most immediate, universally understood results are to make it suffer. Because it's gonna know that, and it's gonna know very quick. And all of this is just vile. I've spent a long time, really thinking on this idea. And maybe I'm biased because I'm depressed. But, when I really look around and really think about everything that kind of makes the world work, the common denominator is suffering. We avoid suffering more than we try to pursue joy. We would rather not be joyful than to actively suffer, right? We communicate to each other through suffering with warfare being the most extreme version of that. And there's not like universal or a general goods, like there are like general evils, such as like storms or plagues or natural disasters. Obviously a storm destroying like a den of puppies is horrible, but we accept that as just a part of life. It's just a cruelty of life. But there's not an equivalent to that, There's not like random chemical storms that just make everything that gets caught up in it not suffer while the storm's going on, Like that doesn't happen. It's just, life is just so full of suffering. Existence is just full of it. Animals of all consciousness levels experience some form of it. And like, I want to clarify when I say that like, a fly is not going to feel the same type of pain that like we do, or like our dogs or cats. But they're going to react to it about how you'd expect them to, Like, they're not going to want to lose a limb. They're going to try to not. All of this, right? It makes me, like, I've thought for a while now, and I've tried to think of some counter arguments. Somebody argue with me, try to help me find some. But it really just makes me think that objective morality exists. But, like, the only one that does is evil, right? Like, if the universe was a conscious being, or if God was like a known entity, we would call them evil because of what goes on here. But because we can't say that any of it is intentional, we just call it normal, right? If you take all of these rules and just pretend for a second that it was the government doing all of this, it was the government making you suffer before you learn to teach, we would be pissed off about it, and we would call that unfair, So, like, the first real counter-argument I thought was, like, how can one side of that coin, be objective and the other not, right? Like, how can evil be objective but good is not? And what I thought of was, like, when you define objective, the first accepted definition of that is objectivity comes from the objective authority, which would be God. But we can't prove one way or the other, that God is a thing, right? And so we have to use this other definition, assuming that all this isn't intentional, right? And the other definition would be if every single entity in the universe, not on the planet, but everywhere, agrees on the definition of something, then it must be objective if everything agrees to it. Like some, like if we had ideas here and we travel to the literal other end of the universe and they have the same ideas and same beliefs, but apply that to every single thing ever. Like, that would imply some, like, base hidden, code or whatever, but anyway. There can't be a single thing that disagrees with that definition. Otherwise, it can't be objective, just by definition. It can't. It would be subjective at that point. Even if every single being, but like a handful of them, said no, it is still subjective. And I think we all react to suffering negatively. And when I say that, I don't mean like we accept suffering, but that we all accept suffering kind of sucks. That suffering is bad, you know? And if you say you don't believe that, you're lying about it. Because, like, go smack your dog real fast and then see if you still agree at that point. Because if you say, well, that sounds like, that's a bad thing to do to the dog, or, well, it's bad because you're making the dog suffer. That's why it's bad, The issue is this rule set, this, set of morality or standards, it just makes life unbearable. Like, it's set up in such a way that you will suffer and learn from that and adapt from that, or you will suffer and die from it. My experience is going to shape the people around me to learn the lessons about my failure, or from me learning and communicating to them what I learned. But why do I have to fail in the first place? Why does any of us and I ended up not fully finish editing it because I didn't like what I made. But it'll depend on the transaction or the traction this all gets. But let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts.